Hi, this is Banyard. I'm the author of Natural Mindfulness, your personal guide to the healing power of nature connection, and I'm out today in nature on a natural mindfulness experience where I connect with nature to boost my health, my well-being, to gain some clarity, and also to tap into what I call life lessons from nature, or cosmic Google, where I feel as if I can kind of download insights that help me in my life. And to me, natural mindfulness is a path to developing that ability to connect with nature on a much deeper level. And I'm fortunate enough, I live in the Gloucestershire countryside, and so at this time when we're locked down, for my one period of exercise each day, I can step out of my home, go through a couple of gates, and I'm out in a wonderful space like this. This is an oak tree behind me, and I can see it from my house. It's a beautiful tree that I love looking at in all different seasons. It changes in all the different seasons. And then just down here is across the way is Cheltenham in Gloucestershire, where I live. So we're quite isolated already up here. We're about 15 minutes away from the town, but we are still quite isolated. And so for me, being isolated now it's not as unusual as it is for many others. I appreciate it's not so easy for others, and I do like some isolation. I like people, I like being around people, but I also like balance. I like to be away. I love nature, so it's not surprising that I feel at home in a space like this. And so I thought I'd come out today and just reflect really on the last 2 weeks of us being in lockdown and being physically distanced and socially isolated, which I really don't like. I like the idea of social isolation. I think we live in a world where we can connect socially, and for many of us we're doing that. I'm doing that through this phone now, and I know many families now are using digital devices to Zoom their families and friends, and creating online Zoom parties, playing bingo and other doing other kind of activities via digital format rather than face to face. I hope we can go back to face to face soon. I think we need that as human beings. Certainly I know one of the anxieties that people are feeling at the moment is that for many people is the anxiety that's linked to emotions, and that anxiety is around rejection. We are community beings. It's a bit like the trees and the nature around us. A forest is a community. You look at animals in the wild. Animals live in packs, and for an animal, if an animal is rejected from the pack or excluded from the pack, become separated from the pack, quite often they become anxious, and they physically will begin to shut down because they're no longer part of their community or their pack. And I believe that's also true of us. We need community, we need to be connected. So those of you that know people who are alone and maybe feeling that emotional anxiety around feeling rejected, feeling isolated, a phone call, drop a note through the door to let them know you're thinking of them, support them if you can, and to help with that. I also find at this time as well, there's a physical anxiety that is easy to tap into and feel if you're not mindful, and that's the feeling of loss. We have I suppose the most physical loss is a loss of life, and obviously this virus has an effect, as we know, on life, and it can be deadly. And so there is this feeling of we could lose our lives or we could lose loved ones, but there are people feeling a little lost because most of us, we go through our lives and we know our way, we know how to navigate, but now we're all in a different space. We're all kind of lost in terms of, well, what do I do and how do I do something? And so we have this feeling of loss. So when you connect those two together, this physical anxiety around loss and the emotional anxiety around rejection. So if you're lost and alone right now, it can be much worse. But of course, the opposite of lost is found. And I often say that, if you're lost, before you can find your way, you have to find yourself. And I always say, our best self is our true nature. So any kind of practice, and natural mindfulness is a wonderful practice for this, any kind of practice that can help us to reconnect to our true selves, to our true nature. That's the one thing I can know for sure and I can rely on and feel confident about is myself. My 2 feet on the ground, what I can see, what I can hear, what I can feel, what I'm in touch with, my instinct, my intuition, my experience, my knowledge. All of those things, I can rely on those things. I can be confident about those because I know them. I'm in touch with them. I've not always been that way. I was very lost many years ago. Any of you have read my book, my story's in there, and you'll know, I was lost. But often you think if you lose something, you have to win back. There's often this thing about lose and win. And for me, the mindset shift I needed to make was sometimes when you lose, you can't win back what you've lost. Sometimes the mindset of the opposite of lose is to find and go searching for your true nature is the path, not trying to win back what you've lost. What you win, you can easily lose. What you find is much more difficult to lose, particularly if what you find is very rich and important to you. So those two anxieties around loss, being lost, and being rejected and being alone are very prevalent at this time. So please look after yourselves if that's what you're experiencing, and look after those around you. There are other anxieties around not knowing what to do. We also feel much more comfortable and confident when we know what's going to happen and when we know what to do. But we're in a situation at the moment where we don't know. We're trusting that the experts know. We're trusting that the government know what to do. We're trusting that the experts and the scientists and the doctors know how to combat this virus. But for most of us, we don't know. And being able to cope with not knowing something, again, is very, very challenging and can create anxiety for us. However, we can, in this point, as I said before, in the same way as we can find ourselves, we can know ourselves. And by, knowing ourselves, finding ourselves, and also being at one with ourselves. We don't feel isolated when we're at one with ourselves as well. So a way of combating those 3 anxieties is to find yourself, be at one with who you are, at peace with who you are, and then also know yourself as well. Be all-knowing, I guess, is a way of looking at it. And the fourth anxiety that I'm aware of is this anxiety of being constrained, being trapped, being restricted, and being on lockdown now. If it wasn't for the fact that I could get out into nature and I could have a nice wander about here at least once a day, I would be crawling the walls. I can't sit still very easily. I'm a free spirit, and I like to be able to express myself and actually venture out and explore. And so for me, these 4 anxieties, I can tap into all of them in different ways. The physical anxiety of being lost, the emotional anxiety of being alone, the mental anxiety of not knowing, and then this spiritual anxiety of not being free, being trapped, being constrained. And so, being mindful of these, being aware of these, and searching for solutions to these 4 anxieties is a useful thing to do. And it's by walking in nature that I get clarity of thought. I feel very grounded and balanced, and then I can tap into, as I say, life lessons from nature or cosmic Google or whatever you want to call it, and I get insight into that. And the insights I'm getting is that finding myself, being at peace with myself, being all-knowing about myself, and then also being free in terms of my spirit. We can be stuck inside and not being able to get out of our homes at the moment, but we can still, in our spirit, be free. We can still hope for a quick resolution to this. We can also use that spirit to encourage others and support others, and express our freedom in those ways. So anyway, that's some natural mindfulness moment I'm having here, but that I'm sharing with you, because that's the other important thing about natural mindfulness. It's about experiencing and connecting, but it's also about sharing as well. So for those of you that are natural mindfulness guides, have trained with me, or other nature connection guides, I encourage you at this time to be sharing your experiences of nature connection, your experiences of the healing power of nature, and sharing it with those maybe who are feeling a little lost, maybe a little alone, maybe don't know what to do and feeling a bit trapped at the moment, to help them as well. So thank you for listening, and if you want to learn more about what I'm doing, visit my website. It's ianbanyard.com, and I'm on Facebook as well. And I have a YouTube channel where you can find lots of videos about me, usually out in nature, talking about natural mindfulness and the healing power of nature connection. Anyway, thank you for listening, and enjoy the rest of your day. Take care now. Bye-bye.